Here we are. We're back.
And we're very excited because we have two wonderful people joining us via Skype. We have Jeannette Magaro and her wonderful, wonderful son, Luciano Magaro, joining us. They are the co-authors of this wonderful book, My Life with Gary, Coping with Autism Spectrum Disorder. We should also say that Jeannette is the founder of autisminclassrooms.org and the co-host of Simply Social Stories. We're going to be chatting with them. But all week long, I've been saying to everybody that we were going to have you on the show and talk about this, My Life with Gary, and that Gary was not who they thought Gary was. So I don't know which one of you wants to answer this, but let's unveil the mystery. Who is Gary?
So we have a lot of people that think that the co-author is Gary, which is not as Luciano. And then we have a lot of people even say things like, oh, Gary's always with you. So they really don't kind of get who Gary is. So Luciano, do you want to explain how you were introduced to Gary and how all that came about?
My counselors were talking to my parents and me and said, if you can name a part of your brain, who would you name it? And I named it Gary.
So Gary is a part of your brain that you named.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very interesting because one would think that Gary is the child on the spectrum in this story.
Or I had people guess that it was a therapist or, a teacher that's helping or whatever. So it's very interesting that you name a part of your brain Gary, but that makes for a really lovely story with some really amazing insights into it about Gary. And I need to know, there are all these lovely drawings, pencil drawings in the book too. Who is the illustrator?
Mom.
Okay.
Oh, Mom, you did that as well.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about why you wrote this book, the two of you together, and why it's so personal to you and why you would share something so personal.
So initially I was boarding a plane with my daughter on the way home from Iceland, and we're in the airport. And, it hit me, Luciano had said, he was obviously diagnosed very late, and as we were going through therapy, he said that I don't get him. And boy, did that ever burn. And we all know that it's hard to understand autism for something that, we're not experiencing ourselves. So we're in an airport in Iceland, just Luciano's older sister and I said, I need to get paper and pencil, and all these thoughts as to how Luciano's day is impacted from the beginning of the day when he wakes up to when he goes to bed all came out on paper. And I came home and I kind of kept it to myself, and I told just a couple close friends, and I hadn't drawn anything since college, and I said, I'm going to draw the whole thing too, right? And I kept it to myself, and then one day I read it to my husband and I sobbed, and that was the first I ever really broke down since Luciano's diagnosis. And I have a close friend who's a publisher, and she said, Jeannette, this is, really personal. Make sure you're in a really good space when you're ready to, to rock and roll with this. So we handed it over to the publisher. She sent it out to an evaluator, and, they wanted some modifications to make the book, something really marketable, something that could be purchased by a teacher to be able to help a student like Luciano. So that's when I had to tag in Luciano for help, and he had to, explain to me, different ways that teachers are able to help them. So we made those modifications throughout the book, and of course, it came back that they needed more illustrations, so Luciano had to pose, and he helped with his own bio as well. So it's just really, I'm so proud of him.
Well, absolutely. How old are you now, Luciano? 12. And so how do you feel about this book? Was it fun for you working on this book with Mom and now having to do things like this, interviews? Is that interesting, or is it just at 12, a lot of things are boring, right? How do you feel about it?
Good.
Good, okay.
I love that. And how do you feel about Gary?
Okay.
Okay, I like that.
Jeannette, you hope that this can go into classrooms throughout the country, right?
Correct. I really think that this is really where it needs to be. I think that there's plenty of organizations out there trying to figure out what's causing autism, right?
Right.
Or how we can put tools into kids' hands, like iPads and things like that, how they can cope. But I really think that, my son's high functioning, obviously, and with the amount of numbers that we have, there's clearly a child like my son, or if it's not in your child's class, maybe there's a child like Luciano right across the hall. And, I think people really misunderstand kids like Lucci, and they think that maybe they're rude, but they don't realize that maybe it's something else causing, certain behaviors. So I think really the best thing that we can do is we can train, right? And we can educate, and we can do it at ground level up. So really 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, you've read the book. It's a very easy read. And it explains just how Luciano is just like every other kid, but also a little bit different.
At what age, and either one of you can answer this, at what age was Luciano diagnosed?
He was diagnosed at 10, and he just turned 12 just a couple days ago.
So this is relatively new.
Why do you think he got such a late diagnosis, Jeannette?
Because he is very high functioning, and I can tell you, first off, the pediatrician, my pediatrician may be about 60, 65 now. My daughter, who's almost 18, they did not vet her for autism, right? So at 2, they were asking a lot of questions about how Luciano plays and things like that. So they were just starting to vet for autism at the pediatrician that we go to. And I think we just went through a series of diagnoses that maybe just weren't quite right.
Right.
I think, too, I've learned since this diagnosis that going to outpatient counseling and sitting on a couch really isn't effective for any child, more or less a kid with ASD. I think part of it, too, is the fact that the mental health system, the psychiatrists that we've seen are wonderful. It takes quite some time to get in, and when you get in with them, you're in for maybe 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, you really can't get to know a child, especially one that it might be a little bit masked because he is so high functioning. So I think there were a lot of reasons why it was missed, but it was definitely a big miss, that's for sure.
Tell us a little bit about autism in the classrooms and how that came about and what you're hoping to achieve with that.
So, everyone really pushed me to get this book out and felt that it was very important. And, unless you sell masses of books, it's not a lucrative thing, being an author. And it just seems to be that the better way, instead of, taking money from this book, is to really, intake, any sales from the book go and then go back into the community by putting them in classrooms throughout the United States, because we don't have, normally, I'm from Central PA. I like to give back to my neighborhood. But this is a problem that we're having everywhere, and there are mothers like me struggling. There's teachers that are trying to do better. There are kids, it's just had such a big impact already. Everybody that sees it's like, hey, I know someone, I'm going to get this book for them. So to kind of almost recycle the sales and then put it back into classrooms seems to be the best way to get the word out.
Right. Okay.
Amazing. And so tell us a little bit about the vlog and about simplysocialstories.com.
Yeah, so simplysocialstories.com, ironically, the publisher of this book and I, we have a vlog. And it's pretty big here in Central PA, and we talk to business owners, we talk to people doing events, and we just kind of get the message out, very similar to what you do with autism-live, but we do that with business owners here in Central PA, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, we think that you guys are just remarkable. The book is so sweet.
It is sweet. We encourage.
Gosh.
How can people get the book?
www.autisminclassrooms.org. It's also on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. So people can obviously, they can make a purchase and get the book, and they can also go online and they can say, hey, I'm a teacher in Arizona and I have a need. I want this in my classroom.
Great.
Well,
it's a great message and
it absolutely
a great
is.
Resource.
Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to be with us. It was really nice to meet both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.